Welcome to Eye on America. I'm Michelle Miller. Well, soaring rent prices and gun violence, these are just some of the issues burdening communities across the nation. But we're here to show you how neighbors are uniting to address these concerns. But first, bad behavior won't fly. The FAA reported nearly 6,000 cases of unruly airline passengers in 2021. While flight crews are trained to keep the peace, we go behind the scenes with the quiet professionals keeping flyers safe in the skies. Here's Errol Barnett.
Die!
A simulation of a worst-case scenario.
This is a hijacking.
A mid-flight hijacking. Exactly what federal air marshals are training to stop. But this sprawling facility in New Jersey.
We are tasked with patrolling and securing the skies.
And there are thousands of them flying in pairs daily. As they're always undercover, we cannot show you their faces. But chances are they've likely sat next to you on a flight, laying low.
We are ready for anything. We're 100% trained and know exactly how to deal with certain situations.
Another drink for me.
These days, that means unruly passengers. In December, 2 air marshals broke their cover on this flight from D.C. to Los Angeles.
You don't got it!
When a passenger became combative.
What circumstances will an agent intervene, and what things will they allow the flight crew to handle?
If a situation gets to a point where it's an arrestable offense, an assault, or something to a much higher gravity, then we will absolutely intervene.
Future air marshals have to be precise in changing conditions.
2 rounds, 2 seconds.
Training here in low-light scenarios with moving targets and even a replica of a first-class cabin layout.
You may have upwards of 300 passengers on some of these aircraft. So the last thing that we want to have happen is one of our air marshals accidentally shoot innocent persons. We have some of the highest marksmanship standards out of any federal agency out there.
Federal air marshals, would you say they're the best shot in the biz?
Yes.
Their proof? A marksmanship score which measures accuracy.
What's your accuracy?
I am shooting a 287.
287
Yes.
out of 300.
Yes.
This recruit, who we cannot identify, had no previous law enforcement experience.
I wanted something bigger than me.
Get back! Get back!
New hires slowed during the pandemic.
Drop the weapon!
But this year, 3 new graduating classes are kicking off an effort to fill the ranks. The agency making it a priority to recruit from underrepresented groups.
You know, sometimes situations where I feel like a female would be better suited to handle a situation.
You will be the last line of defense on an aircraft should something go wrong. How does that feel?
It's a big job, but it's an honor.
We turn now to different kinds of defenders, our nation's veterans who are finding their next mission after serving. Chip Reed takes us to a farm in Virginia where military heroes are cultivating new skills.
Jenny Haskamp spent 15 years as a United States Marine. Now, she's a farmer with a focus on flowers.
These are what I want, right? I want healthy zinnias.
She learned the science and the art of farming here at Arcadia Farm in Alexandria, Virginia, on land once owned by George Washington.
It's exhausting, it's hot, it's buggy, and it's the most satisfying and the happiest I've ever been.
She began 3 years ago in Arcadia's part-time Veteran Farmer Reserve program that gives veterans an opportunity to decide if farming is for them. For her, it was a perfect fit.
I think it's an incredible program for veterans transitioning from years of service into the next career.
She now farms here full-time and dreams of one day having a small farm of her own.
Being selective with the kale?
About 125 veterans have learned to farm at Arcadia, and most, including Army veteran Marcus Robertson, developed a passion for growing fruits and vegetables.
What are you growing here?
Right in between us, we have some strawberries. To my left, we have some garlic. To my far left, we have cucumbers. We're also growing pumpkins, watermelons, tomatoes here.
What did you feel like that first time you put your fingers in the soil here?
Terrified.
Terrified?
I had no clue what I was doing, or when to do it, or how, or even why, for that matter.
But over 4 years, with help from Arcadia Farm's experts, he figured it out.
Do you think of yourself as a farmer now?
Yes, yes. I'm even thinking of changing my name. Farmer Marcus. Just period.
Farmer Marcus.
Pamela Hess is executive director of Arcadia Farm and helped create the Veteran Farmer Program. The goal is to give veterans an opportunity to earn a living in a new but surprisingly similar walk of life.
They can work in all temperatures, they can carry very heavy loads, they are great at long-term planning, they are not freaked out by crisis. Farmers and military folks have a very similar mindset when it comes to their work. Farming is a mission-oriented business in the same way that a military mission is. You can't stop at 5 o'clock, you stop when the mission is done.
We caught up with Hess at Arcadia's mobile market, which sells the farm's fresh produce in several underserved neighborhoods in Washington, D.C.
In neighborhoods that don't have grocery stores, that have a high use of food stamps and low car ownership, which means that people have a really hard time getting their hands on good quality, beautiful, healthy food.
Government nutrition benefits are accepted here, and the market's many regular customers say it's the only place in the area with food this fresh.
You love kale.
Yes, you wash it and cut it up, and it holds. Like if you make your salad today and put it in the refrigerator, it's still going to be fresh the next day.
There are many people in this area over here in the apartments who do not have transportation, and they need to have fresh produce.
The mobile market has seen double-digit growth every year since 2012. Hess gives most of the credit to her team of veterans.
Thank you. Arcadia Farm, we don't just grow food, we also grow farmers.
Farmers who, after serving the nation, have found their next mission.
The best part of being out here is realizing that I can succeed, that I can do things I never planned to do, and I can do more than I thought that I could still do.
Allow yourself to see what's possible, to see the potential, to see what you can do. Don't be afraid to dream, don't be afraid to try, don't be afraid to fail, and know that if we're lucky, tomorrow's another day.
When we come back, soaring rent has some families wondering for the first time if they can afford a place to call home. This is Eye on America. It's not just homeowners. Renters are struggling with the sharp rise in housing costs across the country. Nancy Chin talks to some families in South Florida.
So what's the first one? What's this one called?
Just about every renter in South Florida has the same story. When their lease comes up, sticker shock. That's what happened to Jamie Wolf, a single mom raising 3 kids.
We're looking at almost $1,000 in an increase. Previously I got, 5%, 6%, I think, increases, things that you could kind of prepare for.
Sure, but $1,000.
It's impossible to prepare for.
Nationwide, rents have soared nearly 20% year over year. But in South Florida, they're up nearly 50%.
You think this is going to get worse?
Oh, there's no question. There's no question in our mind.
Diana Stanley runs the Lord's Place in West Palm Beach, which helps homeless people and those on the brink. She says that calls seeking help have doubled in the past year.
We are going to have a massive increase in homelessness.
Betty Rivers is hoping to afford any type of shelter after her rent rose from $900 to $1,500 a month.
It was a downfall for me.
For now, this grandmother of 5 is sleeping on her daughter's couch.
If I give up then, I feel like I'm giving up on myself.
The end may not be in sight. Florida has no rent control, and demand is far greater than supply, with more people moving there during the pandemic. The costs, Stanley says, will keep going up, pricing many more out of the market.
I just want to be prepared beyond this year. I just want to have a little bit of security.
There is another pressing concern that's impacting families nationwide. According to the American Public Health Association, gun violence is one of the leading causes of premature deaths in the United States. In New York City, a community intervention program is touting the ethos. Peace is a lifestyle to help reduce violence. Here's Dr. Tara Narula.
Through sunny playgrounds and shadowy corners of South Jamaica, Queens, this bright orange Peacemobile helps keep the peace by offering a safe space for the community to connect. With words or without.
Life Camp believes that a healthy mind and a healthy body, healthy spirit, can lead to a peaceful life.
For more than 30 years, Erica Ford and her nonprofit Life Camp program have intervened in moments of conflict and promoted peaceful alternatives to picking up a gun.
There's tools and things that we can use to just cool off when things get pressured. We have to get the right medicine to a person. So if it's a job, if it's yoga, if it's meditation, if it's therapy, there's various different prescriptions.
Growing up here, Ford saw the need for a response that took aim at the roots of gun violence.
Trauma is in the beginning, the middle, and the end of violence. And so no one wants to pick up a weapon and bring harm to somebody. It is something happening inside of a person that triggers them to make the wrong decision.
Why do you think it's important for people in the neighborhood to be part of solving this problem?
Those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution.
So you go wherever the need is?
Wherever the need is.
So when you drive in and interrupt an incident and park your Peacemobile in between, what's the reaction that you get?
First of all, it's shock. And then they'll tell us, oh, we don't want to hear that peace stuff. We're not hearing that peace stuff. And I got you, but we can't afford no more gunshots.
Carl Fuller is both the driver and driving force behind Life Camp's Vessel of Hope.
Now, all we're asking you to do is not shoot. But that one moment that you get somebody not to shoot, it's a success. This spot we're standing at right now is the very spot my son was killed.
Fuller's son, Carl Jr., was shot and killed in 2007, just after graduating high school.
My wife died 8 months later of a broken heart.
Fuller turned his grief into activism to save other families from gun violence and its ripple effects.
A lot of fathers are not willing to share their pain because in this community, a man is not allowed to cry. You know, only thing that's tolerated from me in this community is anger.
There was a man coming around the corner with a gun. And before I could do anything, he had shot my son.
7 years ago, right before her eyes, a stranger shot Carolyn Dixon's son, Darrell Lynch, in a dispute over a parking spot.
Did you fall asleep?
Life Camp's therapists help Dixon process her grief. Why is it so important to take that holistic approach?
Because you can't fix one part of the body without fixing all. Everything comes together as a whole.
At their Dream Cafe, Jaquil Johnston and Jayton McMillan used Ford's lessons to help neighbors heal from the inside out.
So we had our fair share of violence. We had our fair share of bad eating. Ultimately, it's been a tradition, you know.
When they were teens, Life Camp introduced the Lifelong Friends to a healthier and safer lifestyle. Now they're paying it forward.
I lost my dad, and not only my dad, I lost plenty of friends as well, like to gun violence, you know.
You have to create solutions instead of complaining and waiting for somebody to change the community that we're from.
They were able to change the narrative of what was cool in their community. So people went from the chicken greasy spot to now eating healthy and doing yoga in the park, as opposed to, you know, shooting each other or selling drugs. The people in our community have a right to live free from suffering. They have a right to live free from violence.
Up next, a group of dancers here in the U.S. who are putting smiles on the faces of kids displaced by the war in Ukraine. From half a world away, a Chicago dance group is spreading joy to Ukrainian children whose lives have been turned upside down. Adriana Diaz has the story.
This may look like a typical day of remote learning, pets and all.
They're telling about their day or showing us their pets, which is incredible given the circumstances.
But these are the circumstances. The children are in Ukraine. We agreed not to show their faces for their safety. In Chicago, Nastia Latoska and Tanya Karapis are part of the Hromovetsia Ukrainian Dance Ensemble, which is using dance to distract.
Our responsibility is to put a smile on our face, pretend like nothing's happening for those 45 minutes, and make it strictly about the dance lesson. That's it. Okay.
Some spend their nights in bomb shelters, fear they try to forget,
4 razy Spider-Man, tak?
with moves like the Spider-Man.
We get joy from seeing them being joyful, but I get satisfaction knowing what kind of parents they have, because you've seen the strength and resolve and resilience of the Ukrainian people and their patriotism.
The dance school is in a Chicago neighborhood officially called Ukrainian Village.
We want peace!
When we visited, even American kids were rallying, fighting for these children.
They're our anchor of hope. They are our light. They remind us of what our purpose is.
As we close out our show, we head back to Florida. Retiring there sure does sound appealing to many. And that goes for elephants, too. Manuel Bajorquez visits the endangered mammals who are now living life in peace.
Just south of the Florida-Georgia line, a herd of gentle giants now roams. They are as big as they are majestic. Members of the largest Asian elephant herd in the Western Hemisphere and retirees from the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Earlier this spring, they were shipped here, their lush new habitat at the White Oak Conservation Center. For conservationist Michelle Gadd, it's a dream come true.
A lot of kids have this dream of running away and joining the circus, and I was the kid that wanted to run away and let all the animals out of the circus.
Elephant attractions were a part of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus for most of its 146-year history. But in 2016, Ringling finally retired the act after years of public outcry against what many considered animal cruelty. But their retirement wasn't perfect. They were moved to this small preserve south of Orlando. The nonprofit Walter Conservation stepped in and bought the 35 elephants and started construction on the habitat. These were their first baby steps into their new home, finally able to roam and feed and bond as a herd, and even cool off when the Florida sun becomes a bit too much.
Elephants are among the most social and empathetic animals there are, and here not only are they getting to know their new surroundings, they're getting to better know each other.
The 2 oldest girls, I referred to them as the mean girls, but perhaps they're just a little bit bossy.
So this is their first time really interacting as a herd.
It's the first time interacting as a herd. They seem to have sorted out a hierarchy amongst themselves. They regrouped right outside the fence and again reassured each other, rumbled, touched each other, put their trunks in one another's mouths.
Nick Newby leads the White Oak Elephant Project and works with the animals every day. He knows them all by name, even if they're only showing their backsides.
Angelica, Sarah, Mabel, Myrtle.
Newby says because they have been raised and trained and become dependent on humans, sending them into the wild is not an option. But here, he hopes they can help humans better understand and appreciate this endangered species, of which only about 50,000 remain.
So what is your mission for them here?
Just for them to live a holistic life and a really complete life. The best thing for these animals is to live in a complex environment that's pretty darn close to the wild, honestly.
This is as wild and free as they can be.
I believe so, yes.
We want people to realize that elephants are beautiful just as they are. They don't need to be ridden or trained or do tricks or travel the world. Just let them be where they are, and you don't get anything more beautiful than that.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. Thank you for watching Eye on America.